Hello everyone, I'm Colleen and today I'm going to be doing my January reads. I am so glad that January is finally over. It felt like a really long month, and even though it's considered a long month, I only read 4 books, but I'm really happy about that because that's the usual amount of books I read anyway. So this month I read 1 physical book and 3 ebooks, so I will start with the ebooks. First of all, I read 2 e-arcs from Netgally, so I want to thank Netgally for sending me these ebooks in exchange for an honest review. So the first e-arc that I'm going to be talking about is Melt by Celine Costivilla. The first time I saw the cover, I immediately thought that it'd be a Wizard of Oz retelling, but it is not. You just need to know that, and it was really great. It is kind of like, it takes like the backdrop of Wizard of Oz, and the events that happen in this book were actually true. It is told in a dual perspective. The first perspective that we get is from Joey, and he doesn't have a really great relationship with his family. His father abuses their mom and he kind of feels helpless, I guess. And next perspective is Dorothy's, and she is kind of like a goody two-shoe, like people see her that way. The first time that they meet, we immediately know that they're going to be together. I wouldn't say that it's insta-love, but I could definitely tell that they had a connection. I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars because I had a little bit of a problem with it, but I really liked it. My only problem with it was this was my first time reading a book written in a poetry kind of way. Joey's perspective is told in that way, so it was very poetic, and I wasn't used to it the first 2 chapters, but after that I was really into it. And Dorothy's chapter was written normally. I love the way it's told in a dual perspective because with each scene it kind of contrasts with theirs, so you know how they're feeling and what they're thinking in that moment. And the only other problem that I had was just this one thing that Dorothy said, and it just irked me because they were only going out for 3 months and it didn't sit well with me. I just wasn't into it, but I just kind of pushed it aside and I enjoyed the book. I definitely recommend this book, but if you aren't a fan of reading abusive family thing, I wouldn't pick this up at all, because one of the chapters like described how Joey's dad has abused his mother, and it was graphic. I could like imagine it, and it was horrible, but other than that, it's a really great book. The next book that I got from Netgally is The Fall of Bear Isle by Rowena Corey Daniels, and this is going to be re-released in March, so definitely check that out. It is a trilogy, but all the books are in just 1 ebook, which I really like, and so far I've only read the first book. It takes place 600 years after the Outcast Chronicles, and I haven't read that, but if you were wondering if you should read the Outcast Chronicles first and then read this book, I don't really think you have to, because I didn't, and I didn't feel very lost because I felt like the world was already developed. But if you do want to know more about the history of the Tens and stuff, then you should definitely read the Outcast Chronicles, because in this book, The Fall of Bear Isle, every history of the Tens is lost, and our main character Emma Sand doesn't really know much about her heritage because all those stories has been lost, or they just have been told, or they've just been kept a secret, so we don't really know much about that. But The Fall of Bear Isle is definitely more romancy than proper action, but I am currently reading the second book and there is more action in that one, and I definitely recommend the series if you love reading epic fantasy. And this is probably a new adult because there are more adult content in this book. So for the first book of The Fall of Bear Isle, I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. The last ebook that I read was Something Strange and Deadly by Susan Bernard. This is a historical fiction novel, and it takes place in the 1800s. Something strange and deadly has been going on in Philadelphia. Our main character Eleanor was meant to meet up with her brother, but instead she got a letter from her brother, but the zombie gave it to her. And kind of, I wouldn't say it's a zombie apocalypse, but zombies has been kind of taking over Philadelphia, and it's just getting really suspicious, and she's worried about her brother. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I had some problems with it. It was set in the 1800s, but I didn't feel like I was taken to that time period. I felt like Eleanor didn't act the way they should have been acting in that century, so I didn't feel like I was in that moment. and I didn't really like the zombies. They didn't really do anything. They were just walking dead. And yeah, that was all that I could really think about why I didn't like the book. But I almost gave it a 5 out of 5 stars because I thought it was a really fun read. And last but not least, I participated in Kat from Cattastic's TBR challenge, and my challenge was to read and watch its adaptation, and I decided to pick up How I Live Now by Meg Rossoff. At first I thought that this was a historical fiction novel, but it's not, because as you can see, this is definitely not something they would wear in that time period. It takes place in the Third World War, and this is a very different book from all the YAs because she has a very distinct voice. She isn't the same girls that we read in YA. She is not very nice, but then she discovers herself, and it's kind of a coming of age story. Yeah, and there's a bit of a romance, but not really. Because my challenge was to read a book and the adaptation, I also watched the movie. I like the book and the movie, but not on the same level. It's really hard to explain because they are similar and not similar at the same time. They have made changes, and with this kind of book to movie adaptation, you had to separate the book and the movie in order to enjoy either one. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. Okay, so it is February and I will be picking my TBR challenge. So for February, my challenge is to read a book you did not finish or you gave up on. Okay, I'm not too sure if I have loads of options in that one because there is definitely a reason why I did not finish a book. So hopefully I'll be able to find that one book that I did not finish and end up loving. So thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like, comment down whatever you want, and I will see you in my next video. Bye! For February, I will have to... This is blank. Why is it blank? I don't understand.